Hello Epic 7 and welcome to the Nature's Decline and Decay Earth Advent Normal Hell video. I know many of you are waiting for the Epic Hell video, but try to be patient with me. I'm traveling this week and the places I'm going to be at, the internet is not so great. I'll try to get a video up soon, but Smilegate really turned the difficulty of this event up, like to an unreasonable level. So much so I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see it nerfed a little bit before the end of the event. I do want to point out that next weekend is a free unequip event, so if you're struggling with this, and especially when we get to Epic Hell, you may want to wait until next weekend so that you can move your gear around for free, because this event can get quite expensive with the re-gearing involved. But this team, I think you'll like. It's a full auto team. It doesn't use any limited units. It doesn't use any ML5s, and it's pretty quick. Now you could sub out some ML5s and make it and limiteds and make it a little bit faster, but I wanted to keep this as free to play as possible in this very difficult end game event. So here is the team. Now I would be remiss if I didn't mention this, so I'm going to bring it up first. Make sure you have your side story currency pet equipped. At full power, it's an extra 16.5% to the current shop currency you get from the Advent event, and that adds up, so make sure you put them in there. Now for Team 1, I didn't really re-gear any of these units except for changing some artifacts, so go with whatever you think is best for you. Zahak, you want him to be the highest attack unit on the team. I gave him his S1 EE for some extra damage on his S1, and Symbol of Unity is just what he always wears, so that's what he's still on. His there because his S2 will dispel the curse debuff, and that's important. Next is Violet. Violet's just there for some extra damage. My Violet is a troll Violet. He's just really high health and not a lot of damage, but he gets the job done. Put him on an evasion artifact. If your Violet is the highest attack unit, that's fine, but you want to make sure he would go before Zahak, so you need to put attack boots on Zahak if that's your route. Next is my green Celine. She is not very well built. Half of her gear is level 85, but she does dish out some damage, so that's who I'm going to run in this spot. You could probably pick, I don't know, Urvalin or just about any other damage dealer. Phase number 2, you want to have a lot of AoE units that do good damage. The important thing is killing off the mushrooms first. When you kill the mushrooms, you drop the boss's mitigation. So to that end, I took Fire Lilius. Mine's got a lot of crit damage, so she softens up the mushrooms pretty well. But if yours isn't built for crit damage, that's fine. She still works because she dual attacks with the other units. Next, I took Mercedes. She's my principal unit for clearing the mushrooms. She is built pretty strong, so between her and Lilius, she should take care of the mushrooms. But if she doesn't, then I've got my backup AoE unit in the form of Fire Charlotte. As long as Charlotte has a buff, she'll do an AoE attack with her S1, and because of the amount of attacks that come in on you, she'll pretty much always have a buff. Her S3 Galewind attack is also very strong, and with all of the dual attacks with a fast Lilius, you'll be able to burst Phase 2 down pretty quickly. There are alternatives on this fight as well. Ed works very nicely, but again, I was trying to stay away from limiteds. Phase 3 is probably the easiest phase. First, you want to take a Mascot Hazel. Mascot Hazel is there to give the other fire units a greater attack buff. Put her on whatever healing artifact you run. The effect resistance is there for Nightmare Hell Raid. It has no need, you don't need it at all here. Just run her tanky enough that she doesn't die. Next is Lidica, and Lidica is really, really good. She trivializes this fight. My Lidica is on trash gear. She's not well put together. I'm running her on Song of Stars for extra damage. If you want best in slot, go Miss Confile. You get a defense break on the boss and it's over, but I didn't want to use anything limited. And the last unit I'm going to use, Zealot Carmen Rose. She is really, really good on this phase. She's got buff block on her S3, so does Lidica, and that keeps the boss from getting a defense buff and a speed buff. I put her on Rage Caladra because Lidica spams debuffs, so she does a ton of damage. You could also use Soul Bad Guy in her place. He also does buff block and does significant damage, but I really like Zealot Carmen Rose for this fight. So at the start of the phase, the boss curses the highest attack unit, and as long as you're cursed, you have a reduced damage and a reduced chance to crit. So you really want to get rid of the curse, and the way you get rid of the curse is by doing a non-attack skill. I'll turn auto on here to show it's a full auto team. Zahak does his non-attack skill, which gets rid of curse, and then he starts laying down damage. You could also use Sirmia in place of Zahak, but once again your problem becomes making her the fastest unit. You want your cursed unit to also go first so that they can get rid of the debuffs. Zahak makes it really easy. Violet can also be the cursed unit if you make him fast enough, because his S2 will go off before he attacks. The only tuning you might have to do is make sure Green Celine is on speed boots so that her attack isn't higher than Zahak's, because she does not have a cleanse ability. Next phase, Lilius does her S3, which hits really freaking hard if you build her on crit damage, and then Mercedes should clear the mushrooms. If Mercedes doesn't clear the mushrooms, Charlotte can come in and finish them off like that. Now that the mushrooms are dead, this phase is easy. You just burst the boss down because he's lost his damage mitigation.
This way. Let me help you. Obey me. Obey me. Away with you. Attack. Here I go.
And on to phase 3. This phase was a little bit frustrating at first, but man, Lidica and Zealot really fixed it for us. So Lidica does her S3 first, which, knock on wood, will CR push the boss to the back of the line. There we go. And we applied a target debuff and a slow debuff. How good is that? Zealot Carmen Rose comes in with her S3, and she puts a buff block on there, so if the boss does get a turn, the boss can't put a defense buff up. Lidica blinds, Zealot Carmen Rose hits like a truck. And there you go. Full clear, full auto, no ML5s, no limited units, no limited artifacts, and a pretty fast team. Now there's other options, of course. This is just my option. I'm not saying that this is the best or the only way to do it, but it's a fast clear, it's a stable clear. I haven't had any losses running it, so I think it's a good way to farm the shop. Now, let me talk about Epic Hell for a minute. We worked on Epic Hell for a couple of hours last night. We came up with a couple of ways to one-shot Phase 1 and 2. We came up with a couple of stable ways to get through Phase 1, but we struggled with Phase 2. It's going to take a little bit of time to puzzle it out. Smilegate really turned the difficulty up to 11, and I don't mean that in a good way. Normally I like for there to be really challenging PvE content for endgame players, but this one's a little over the top, so it's going to take some time to puzzle out a solution. And as I said at the beginning of the video, I'm traveling this week, and the places I'm traveling to have kind of not so great Wi-Fi, so I'll take my stuff with me. I'll record the fight once I figure it out, and then drive to some McDonald's Wi-Fi and get it uploaded, I guess. Hopefully this helps you guys out, though. If you like and subscribe and hit that bell, you'll be one of the first to know when the Epic Hell video goes up. And a final note, if anybody needs a guild, we have some openings, so check the link in the Discord and message me, and we'll see if we can get you into one of our guilds. There's only a few spots left, but we do have openings for just about every level of play, from beginner to veteran. And this is unfortunately only on the global and EU servers at this time. Well, that is all for now. Remember, free Unequip next weekend, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. Take care, everybody.